By 1923, Herbert Macaulay had already spent a decade legally barred from holding elected office, the result of a conviction 10 years earlier that many historians still dispute. He built the Nigerian National Democratic Party anyway, then spent the next 23 years running Nigerian politics from outside it, through a newspaper, through a king's legal battle with the British Empire, and through a rivalry bitter enough that his enemy called him a dangerous fool in his own private diary. This video covers those years, and how they ended with Macaulay handing his life's work to a much younger man. The Aliko affair begins in 1920. Oba Eshigbe Aliko faced a direct order from the colonial government, publicly disavow statements Macaulay had made in London accusing the administration of eroding traditional authority in Lagos. Aliko refused. The refusal cost him his throne. In August 1925, the government deposed him and exiled him to Oyo. 2 more Obas would occupy the Lagos throne in succession before Aliko returned, 6 years later. Fighting from London, Aliko's lawyers kept the case alive in London for years, pushing it through the Privy Council, the final court of appeal for the entire British Empire. In 1928, the council ruled that Aliko could challenge his own deportation through a writ of habeas corpus. Lagos took it as confirmation the king was coming home, and the celebration started immediately. The gunpowder plot. In the middle of that celebration, Macaulay's Lagos Daily News published a rumor. The British colonial government was smuggling gunpowder into Lagos to bomb Aliko's motorcade the moment he returned. The colonial government charged Macaulay with sedition over the story. He was convicted and sentenced to 6 months of hard labor at Broad Street Prison. He was 64 years old. The imprisonment made him more popular than he had been in years. The war with Henry Carr sat on the Legislative Council, was a favorite of the colonial administration, and had earned the nickname, the Black-White Man, from Lagosians who saw him as the establishment's man. The two had once been friends. Macaulay had built Carr's house on Tinubu Square himself, back when he still worked as an architect. By the 1920s, they despised each other. Macaulay published a pamphlet titled, "Henry Carr Must Go," accusing Carr of orchestrating the government's resistance to Aliko's return, and falsely claiming Carr's father had abandoned his family. Carr never answered him in public. In his private diary, he called Macaulay a crooked mind and a dangerous fool. Aliko was restored to the Lagos throne in 1931, and Macaulay's relationship with the colonial government even improved for a stretch afterward, including direct meetings with the governor. But the NNDP's grip on Lagos was not permanent. In 1938, the more radical Nigerian youth movement swept the Lagos Town Council elections, ending 15 years of unbroken NNDP control. Macaulay was in his 70s by then, and it would have been a reasonable place for his political career to end. Instead, in 1944, he co-founded the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons with a young journalist named Nnamdi Azikiwe, and became its first president. 2 years later, on a nationwide tour to build support for the new party, Macaulay fell ill in Kano. He died back in Lagos on May 7, 1946, at 81. Azikiwe delivered the funeral oration and inherited leadership of the party Macaulay had just spent his final 2 years building. Azikiwe wasn't in Nigeria when Macaulay founded the NNDP, and he wouldn't set foot back in the country for another 14 years. Before Lagos, there was Accra, 3 years editing a Gold Coast newspaper, a sedition conviction that got thrown out on appeal, and a habit of mentoring the students who passed through his newsroom. One of them was a young man named Kwame Nkrumah, who would go on to lead a country that wasn't even his own to independence, years before Azikiwe managed the same for Nigeria. Next time, we go to Ghana, to the newsroom where the man who inherited Macaulay's party spent his 20s shaping someone else's revolution first.